And welcome everyone, finally, the correct time. So if you guys don't know what happened, well, good to you, because there was another RSG technical difficulty, because that is the way that we roll around here. So welcome to another Reality Skewed Gamers video. This is the way we roll when we do things. Things drop. We don't really do videos all that much. What we do is we go straight to live streaming, because that is what we like to do most, because it allows us to interact with you guys while we tell you the entire story, and you can hear us and yell at us about all of our opinions. So, why are we doing this video all of a sudden? Well, the Road Ahead dropped. The Road Ahead by Top Hat. The first Road Ahead, not by CG Carey in a little while. So, a little gives me the feels just a little bit, but we are talking about the Road Ahead by CG Top Hat. And with me, of course, is, I don't even know what to call you anymore. I'm going to call you the bearded Mr. T, Grande Patron.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good. Yeah. So if you guys don't know, yesterday was Mr. Patron's birthday. So everybody in chat,
my birthday.
Make sure to give Grande a shout out for his birthday if you guys haven't already. It's a big deal when the big deal has a birthday. I mean, come on, that's just science. So we are going to be talking about the Road Ahead post, all the things that you guys will need to know about this. Grande and I have reviewed this. We have found the things that we think are important as it results with this. So let's go ahead and just start jumping into this and start talking about what obviously is kind of important with all of this. So I'll start reading, and then we'll kind of take it in pieces. It's not a very long post, as you guys can see, but there is some good things actually going on in this, depending on how they go about it. So let's start with right at the beginning. Hi, Holotable Heroes. It's time again for another Road Ahead. As CG Eric mentioned last week, I'll be taking over the writing of the Road Ahead posts. Oh, thank you, Andrew Sweeney. Andrew Sweeney donated $2 and said, happy birthday to the beardless bearded one. So he started out very simple, kind of explaining where we are, right? He's taking over. Right. He also says, if you haven't seen my name pop up before, I'm the live producer. The live operations team is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the game. We introduce new characters, ships, and events. I'm really excited to talk about what's coming next. That being said, let's step into the cantina and see what the future has in store for the next months. So we're going to look here, and the first thing is the battle rages on. So Grande, look at that picture. Tell me your thoughts on just the picture. We're not reading the text yet. Just the picture.
The first graphic is cool. I mean, it's, we've seen a similar graphic before from the Clone Wars movies, so I like it. I think it's cool.
Well, you see the other major part of this, right? It's the light side ships coming in and destroying the dark side.
I do see that.
Cool.
But those are really, those are not like ships, right?
Because no, that's the LLAT that we try to destroy with our platoons.
Those are the transporters, mm-hmm. Right? And so, they don't really fly in space. We don't really have like a way to deal with vehicles that don't like fly in space, really.
No.
And but it's still cool looking.
It is. I always like their graphics and their animations. I have to give them a shout out. Like every now and then we pick on things like the poop emoji BB-8 and that kind of stuff, but in general, their graphics department does a really good job, and so I would agree. It's nice here. Okay, so it's been a few weeks since Separatist Might landed, and we've already seen guilds do some incredible things. Team Instinct and Mighty Chlorians were the first guilds to get at least 30 stars. Congratulations to both Team Instinct and Mighty Chlorians, and good luck on your march to 33 stars. Now, Grande, how far has the, I don't know what you want to call it, the top DL guild gotten in GOTB so far?
I think 28 or 29. I can't remember.
Okay.
Somewhere in.
And I know we got 21 the first time and 22 the last time. So, and we're at like 205 million GP. So, yeah, Big shout out to Team Instinct and Mighty Chlorians. Good job so far in getting into the 30s. Now it's a push to get to 33 and be the first to get that new title, whatever that's going to be. So also about 80 players have beaten the Accolade. That's pretty impressive. That mission is really hard.
I would agree. Yes.
So yeah, good job on those 80 people. Crushed the Rebel Scum.
Templar's correcting me. It's 29. So there we go. 29.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There's K. Oh yeah, KT's definitely going to correct you. First he says happy birthday, and then he corrects you. Happy birthday, Grande. You're wrong.
It's totally okay.
All right. So you may be wondering, is this the end of our focus on the Clone Wars era? Far from it. After reworking the Geonosians, we asked ourselves, what could we work on next? How could it be the Clone Wars without taking a pass at the clone troopers themselves? And hopefully that means more than just kind of taking their helmets and putting it on their heads and taking it off their heads and putting it on their heads. And don't forget, changing the thickness of their legs. I can never forget that. That was one of the weirdest changes
leg
ever.
day, right?
Yeah,
leg
the
day.
clone troopers got leg day. It's just bleh. Okay, so we're going to be updating a select few of the clones as they prepare for future battles. We hope fans
There's
aren't...
only 5. Yeah. There's only 5 of them. So a select few is at 2, 3, or 4.
We talked about this before, right? Could this be the upcoming Rex nerf?
It's everyone but Clone Sergeant, right?
You know what? I actually like 5s. I have no issue with 5s of all things. 5s actually has worked out pretty well for me in a lot of different teams, and he works well in Padme.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Rex's leader is getting a nerf.
I think so. I think Rex's leader is getting a nerf.
It's getting a pretty big old nerf.
But he might end up with a really cool, like, additional unique or something like that. But yeah,
he could also end up with a relatively decent, new leader ability, right? It's definitely going to be Rex is getting the shaft treatment, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but
he's gonna. Hopefully, he doesn't get the Finn treatment, which is just changing his leader to something just awful. Seriously, please don't do to Rex what you did with Finn.
But then giving him a unique that's something like stacking tenacity until the end of the battle.
Yeah, I just hope they don't mess with Rex like they have with Finn. But yeah,
they could easily do that, right? And
they could.
Stacking offense.
We lost the second team in Resistance because of that, so I really hope they don't do that. But anyways, we hope fans aren't too divided on the ones we've selected. Yeah, that means they're doing something with Rex. We've gone through something like 500 different iterations on which ones we should update. Yeah, so... Oh, okay. That's a fair question. Dexatronic asks in the chat, and see, this is why we do it live, because we know when we say something, you guys might have questions, so it makes it much better than video. So Dexatronic asks, why is he getting a nerf? We've talked about this before.
Oh yeah,
Grande, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So he's a TM leader, and over the past 18 months, they've basically removed every TM gain leader from the game and changed it to something else, whether that's Palpatine, Finn. They've done this to a bunch of characters. They've also manipulated it to where just TM gainers in general kind of won't gain TM sometimes. So you can tell that this is one of the things that they feel is wrong with the game. And the last vestige of a TM gainer that has not been changed is Rex lead. Rex gains, and it's not TM on something that your team does. It's TM gain on something that the AI or the other team does. It's typically been the problem. Well, Rex teams gain 15% turn meter when they are critted against. That is doubled for clone allies, which means they get 30% TM if they're critted against, if it's a clone. Well, if they're going to rework clones and make clones good, we can't have clones under a Rex lead getting 30% turn meter every time the other team does an AoE. So yeah, they will definitely be changed.
And Dexatronic, don't forget about Newt. He said Finn and HK are the only ones I can think of that got a nerf. Don't forget about Newt.
Oh,
Newt's
yeah.
stealth turn meter gain is one of the first things that triggered the whole question about the turn meter gain. And then most of the other issues that we have seen in this game have all been around a turn meter gain mechanic, right? And that is part of the reason why they changed a lot of the wordings on abilities to no longer gaining turn meter, but gaining a bonus turn, if you guys haven't noticed. So they're changing a lot of things with regarding turn meter and how that works, because it is kind of it can be potentially exploited, and they've seen this with almost every single thing that they've come out and said it's working as it's currently supposed to, but it's not working as we had envisioned, right? So it's working as intended, but not as envisioned, and then they nerf things. So
there's some other characters that probably still need to get touched on, like Stormtrooper Han, for example, would be one that probably ends up getting modified. We've already seen stuff like Sith Assassin. I mean, how does a Sith Assassin not work with the rest of the Sith Empire team? Yeah. I mean, there's some very odd things that they've tried to work through it.
Mm-hmm. And then interesting follow-up question to that. So then before we move on, L. Kelly asks, if Rex gets nerfed, who is the best leader for Wampa? I would actually say he doesn't need a leader. If you want a tenacity up, Rogue One doesn't really work really well as a team, especially in the higher levels. So you could go Wampa, Chirrut, and Baze and just leave it at that. And if you have a fast Chirrut, you get the tenacity up.
So would Palpatine Vader. Potentially he goes on a Palp Vader team.
Yeah. And then also a Karth, right? So I need dot team. So Vader team, or Karth Canderous type team. But I would say that if you're not trying to break apart those teams and you're just trying to find a place for him as like a 3-man squad, Wampa, Chirrut, and Baze works out pretty well as long as you have a fast Chirrut to get that tenacity up before he gets any kind of debuff. So
OG Luke, people are talking about.
So I use OG Luke with Nest instead. You could use him with Wampa, right? But I use him with Nest more than Wampa because he gives a tenacity up, but he gives increased tenacity, but that is different than tenacity up. So like it fits better with Nest because you just want her to. She can survive multiple hits, right? Wampa can't survive those multiple hits. He doesn't get like the protection back like Nest does. He still has that kind of finite health protection. Nest kind of gets that increasing protection, so you can deal with tenacity increase rather than tenacity up on Nest. That might get your Wampa killed depending on who you fight, because he just can't take those multiple damages and stuff. But again, depends on who you're fighting, how you're setting up the team, those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay.
So next, our Clone Wars invasion ultimately culminates in the release of the second half of the Geonosis territory battle, the light side. Woo! On the light side, you'll battle against the dreaded droid army. Why are they dreaded now when we've had to farm them for the dark side? I mean, I feel like this is very biased. He goes from calling the Republic scum earlier, and now all of a sudden they're the dreaded droid army. Like, seriously. You battle against the dreaded droid army and the villains of the Separatist Council.
It's alliteration.
I know. The villains of the Separatist Council. We've got some new units making an appearance to support the war effort that will leave you slapping your forehead in disbelief. And if you're not sure how that sounds, that is how that sounds. All right, we have a few other surprises in store, but revealing more would strain our benevolence. I
see what they did there. Did you see what they did there?
We've seen that before. We've seen that before.
I saw what you did there. That was tricky.
That was tricky, Top Hat. We've seen that word before. Okay. You won't have to scavenge for long as the light side. This is such an interesting word. You won't have to scavenge for long as the light side reeks of great content. So let's just jump straight to it. Who is a smelly light side character they may introduce? So I'm trying to think. I think, oh god, they need to introduce Unker Plot. He just comes into the game. It will take you 10 portions to continue playing. Oh god, this is just awful. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on that portion? That's all the Geonosis stuff before we jump into the next. So what are your thoughts, Grande?
I thought it sounds cool. Let's see how it goes, right?
Yeah,
Cautiously optimistic.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like we're getting some information, right? We're getting stuff on the light side, and honestly, there's probably some things we're missing in here in terms of little references that they try to put in order for us to get some hints. I have a feeling that last sentence is worded so weirdly that it is representing something. You won't have to scavenge for long as the light side reeks of great content. I feel like that's a reference to something that I'm just missing.
Like Scavenger Ray?
That's what I'm like. So we have Scavenger Ray. Like, what are some other scavenging, like
Jawa Scavenger?
You know what's so sad, right? The first thing I think of when I see that sentence is Spaceballs, with them taking a comb and just scavenging the desert. You know, they're actually like combing the desert with. I'm picturing like comb troopers, which I know is not right, but that is like the first thing I'm picturing when I see that.
How can you reek of great content?
That's what I'm saying. So there must be a smelly character that we are missing with this. There has to be a smelly character of some kind. Somebody known for his scent.
Of great content. That doesn't
yeah.
make a...
Ouchie, no. Just Ouchie's question is Jar Jar coming? What's the chance that he'd come into the game? I'm referencing the slapping your forehead in disbelief quote.
I don't think Jar Jar's coming.
So here's the problem with Jar Jar, right? The problem with Jar Jar is he
kind
may
of a
be
divisive character.
Yeah, he might be one of the most polarizing characters in the game. Not even Rose Taco. Like, a lot of people don't like Rose Taco, right? But Rose Taco just it garners the emotions of I really don't care for her and I don't want to farm her. And luckily there was no reason to farm her. But Jar Jar does have the ability to generate hate.
So somebody wrote in here, Vincel said, maybe it's the light side version of the boss. Is there like a boss we fight?
Is there a boss named Reek? I don't know if that's what he's...
Yes. I wrote in Reek Star. Oh yeah, there is. Reek is one of the other things you fight in the pit.
Oh, it is.
It looks like a Triceratops.
Good call there, Vancio. I didn't know that was the name of the Triceratops. That's Ranger's Triceratopidus. That is a good call, Vancio. I didn't get a chance to research like those words, but yeah.
Van Seal, way to go, buddy.
Good job, Vancio. Yeah. There had to be something with the wording of that sentence, and yeah, that's what it is. So the accolade is the dark side, and
Van Seal is on the case.
Yep. I miss having V in the Discord too. I miss talking to you, V. Just
okay. So what's next?
Yeah. So good job there. So we have two things there that we figured out, right? So we know benevolence is a reference to malevolence. So we're probably getting Grievous's capital ship, and then Reeks looks like it's going to be a reference to the light side raid boss, similar to what we have, which is with the accolade. So it looks like that's going to be on the other side. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Now, I don't know if there's something to the scavenge portion as well. If they're going to do something... I mean, I don't know what else they could do. I feel like the scavenge is also a reference to something, but I can't pinpoint that either. So, but let's go ahead and read the next part of the road ahead. So that gets us through everything related to the GOTV.
Yep, so now we get unlocking iconic power, right?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and read that, Grande?
Sure. So we have unlocking iconic power, and we have a picture of Vader, Hermit Yoda, Rey, and Maul. And then we have Star Wars is a galaxy filled with objects just as recognizable as the characters that wield them. Darth Vader's mask, Hermit Yoda's cane, Rey's staff, Darth Maul's lightsaber, and more. While we've done our best to represent many of these objects on the character models themselves, we believe that there is something inherently mythical about these iconic items.
Do you see that as a keyword, Grande? I see that as a keyword.
Yeah, mythical, like as in mythic raids?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. So I think there's something going on there. Traditionally, progression and power in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes has been represented by abstracted stars, gear, or modification to your character card. That's interesting. They don't normally call it a card,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's interesting they did here. In the coming months, we're excited to begin talking about the next phase of character progression in the game, revolving around unlocking and mastering power represented by a unique item associated with each and every character in the game. So I think this is kind of a cool little paragraph we probably need to talk about. Um,
Yeah, let's stop there and talk about it because I had a lot of ideas come to my mind when I read that paragraph in particular. But I'll let you start, Grande.
So each and every character is the first thing that kind of comes to my mind, right? Like each and every character, each and every character is going to get their own thing, a unique item associated with each and every character. I mean, I'm just gonna kind of throw this out there. I mean, we got 5 Jawas. What's going to be unique to each one of them, right? What's going to be unique to Hoth Rebel Soldier that's not going to be unique to Hoth Rebel Scout? I mean, I think they're going to be kind of grasping a little bit in some spots.
Yeah, I agree. They might have like a different level, like a different clothing or something. Like the soldier has a better like coat or something, and soldier is going to get his, or Scout's going to have his boots or something weird like that. But yeah. So I think they will grasp a little bit at those. Yeah.
So we're gonna get some kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, unique item, right, associated with each character, and it's unique item, not unique items. So I don't know if that's important, right? Like if it's one thing per person, like we get one thing. I mean, what the heck does Wampa get?
Wampa's fuzzy paw.
Fuzzy paw.
His unique item is a fuzzy paw.
I guess so, right? What does he get? He gets
we give him a piece of meat.
We give him a piece of meat. That would be interesting.
But I mean, they'll do something, right? But here's the kind of the interesting thing.
Okay.
When I read this, right, and I know she's gone, but I still go back and think about this from the perspective of Carrie a little bit. And the thought process of looking at this as an MMO style. Right. And when I think of it that way, what comes to my mind is kind of a hero builder type setup. And that's one thing. When you mentioned that character card, that was also the other part. Where it's a lot of games, they have this item that kind of levels with them, right? And the more you play, the more experience you get, the more you can kind of level those up. And I think it's kind of interesting because if you are really invested in the characters, and there's characters that you play all the time, let's say arena characters, right? Sure. Arena characters, if you get, and again, each game is different, so this is just kind of a general concept of maybe what they're doing and just kind of what I'm hoping for. If you play characters in arena, that you're able to level up those items a little bit quick. The whole arena setting gives you more XP, for example. But if you use the character with their item in a different setting, let's just say Galactic War, you get less of it. And so what that encourages you to do is play those other characters that you don't normally play, just simply to level up their ability. And you can't sim it. You have to like maybe actually play it or something like that. And you can actually gain experience on those character items. And you can do that in your light side and your dark side, and it can engage players a little more.
I mean, if we take Raid, for example, Raid is effectively using like swords and shields and armor and stuff, and it's kind of similar to gear. So I'm a little, this isn't a bit. This sort of might have some ability type qualities, and this sort of might have some gear type qualities. I'm just trying to figure out like where do they place this, and it might have some mod type qualities, right? And so I'm trying, and of course we're going to have some that are going to be super overpowered and some that are going to be super underwhelming. So I'm just trying to figure out where do we place this unique item right? And how does everything interact? Uh,
Yeah.
it sounds like we're going to probably get them from the raid, right? And what happens if you get two of them? I mean, are we going to get upset that we got like 7 Hermit Yoda canes? And
Depends
we
on how
really
much they
wanted to,
convert for shard shop currency.
exactly, right? And well, and would we have rather had a raised staff or a Maul's lightsaber or a Vader's mask type thing?
Yeah.
So I'm just a little
Lots of question marks
the
around it because we don't know
detail.
what they're.
I mean, this is cool. The details are hugely important.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
And we can't have another mods 1.0, right? We can't have something so OP that it negates everything else that we've worked on, right? They just came out with Gear 13 to come out with an item like you put Vader's helmet and it gives him like an extra 200 speed. That would be kind of ridiculous. And I'm not joking about that because that's about how OP mods 1.0 was at the time. It almost was like giving 200 speed to your character by doing
some of the offensive stats were just out. They were just on another planet. So absolutely needs to be done with caution, needs to be done with balance, needs to be done where it doesn't feel like super grindy, I guess.
Well, you know what? I don't necessarily mind the grindy aspect. The only thing I would mind is how much impact does the grind have on the main modes of gameplay. And that's kind of why I was saying, like, if you get more points in Arena to level up this unique item, right, then everybody is going to be able to get, anyone competitive in Arena is going to be able to get their Darth Revan team, for example, to maximum of whatever their unique items is very quickly, because they use it in Arena. I don't want to see the impact there. But if you have to grind because you're not using Cup in Arena and you have to use Cup in Galactic War in order to get his blaster leveled up, I don't really have a problem with that. It's not something that you necessarily need right away. It's your vanity, it's your fun. Some people like trying to max out everything. So I'm not necessarily opposed to a grind. It just depends on the impact of the grind in terms of Grand Arena, Grand Arena Championships, and regular Arena in particular.
The drops on the thing, the RNG. I mean, if somebody's, really looking for Malik's mask and they've gotten like 57 cup blasters in a row, I mean, that could be a little discouraging for them, right? So we need to, how they implement this, I think, is super important.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Next paragraph.
The next paragraph. So finally, what if these items not only granted you immense character power?
Please be cautious with immense character power.
Yeah. Including potentially brand new abilities, but if they also enhanced using the massive quantities of accumulated unspent gear and materials that longtime players have piled up over years of collecting and playing.
Yes, please.
So,
yes,
again,
please.
this is an insanely no. So this is an insanely slippery slope right here. And this is what I want to say by this. So immense power could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, right?
I see that as being a bad thing if it's immense.
Right.
I feel like that's just saying, what if these granted you power creep? Like, that's kind of what that's saying.
Right.
So that one like 99.999% worries me. That's
okay. So then potentially brand new abilities.
I'm open to that. That one can go either way.
I'm okay with that. But if they also were enhanced using massive quantities of accumulated unspent gear, this is a problem. And here's why this is a problem.
Okay.
What you think of as huge quantities of unspent gear and what I think of as huge quantities of unspent gear are completely subjective. And it all depends on where someone's at. So, you would say, oh, I've got 1,000 of these. That's way too many. But if each character takes 100, all of a sudden now you don't have any more left. You see what I'm saying? And
I see.
And you've got 174 characters that need the new, widget, and the new widget takes 100 of these things. So that means now you can only do 10 characters, and then you're done. And we're back to farming something that you couldn't believe you needed to farm before.
So I see what you're saying, and I agree with you that it can be a slippery slope. Now so I read that, and there was caution, but here's kind of what I was thinking with that. I'm thinking that it's a new currency type, and there would be other ways to accumulate that currency type, but you could trade
you're
in.
thinking we're gonna trade gear in.
Yeah,
To
kind of
get
like
something
a
else.
like a different version of the shard shop
Well,
currency, but instead of character shards, you have the option of voluntarily trading in, and I'm sure they have the numbers,
so
particular
that's not
gear
exactly what it.
for
So
it.
that's not exactly what it says. Let's reread that sentence. But if they were also enhanced using massive quantities of accumulated unspent gear
Yeah.
and
So
material.
you have to trade
This
in
is
your unspent gear for the currency that
that's
you then
right,
apply to the weapon.
but that's not what it says.
It does. It just doesn't tell you the middle, right? It tells you the beginning and the end.
It tells you the beginning. So I'm thinking
You're
we're
thinking it's
gonna.
direct. I'm thinking there's a
I'm
middle
thinking
step
it's
that it's not
correct.
mentioning.
I'm thinking it's direct, and you're thinking it's indirect. Like
Correct.
there's a middle step there. So
It's
again,
not clear, so
it's
we
not
definitely
clear.
need more
Either
details.
one of us could be right on this. We have no idea. I just I prefer to be a little bit more cautious, I guess, than oh, this is going to be wonderful without us really kind of
Right.
going through the minutia, because what we found is that the details do matter, right? The details are the difference between something being epically awesome and being epically a failure. And so obviously the minutia matters. Okay.
Well,
so
important point with that I'll just bring up before we move to the next paragraph.
yes.
What that tells you is that potentially all of this gear that you guys are sick of getting may have some kind of worth, right?
So
More so than anything,
yeah.
I would say start hoarding your ally tokens if you've been spending them on things in the weekly shipments. Now, if you've noticed the last few weekly shipments, I think this last week we did, but the last couple weeks we hadn't. We didn't have anything for those ally tokens there, right?
That is correct. We did not have anything for the
So
token.
it's a good idea to save those unless you see something that you really want, not just spending it because you may need that item or something like that. But save up your ally tokens, because with ally tokens, we've had this discussion before, Grande. I don't think it's necessarily worth it for the shard shop currency, but if you can use the other items that you get,
right? I mean, the shard shop changed. I mean, you now have G12.5, and some some G13.
Well, we haven't gotten anything in the weekly store lately, so I don't really have the comparison to make anymore. But I did like what was in the weekly store.
The weekly store is kind of it's really a bad value, right? And we've kind of gone through how the ally token portion is a bad value in the store, and it felt like it was there for.
But when there's stun guns, I take them because I need stun guns.
Ship Omega,
Ship Omegas, like all those other things.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing, though, is that all that stuff is farmable, right? And all that stuff is relatively easily farmable, or you can get it over time. I mean, ship Omegas. I'm sure a lot of people, I mean, unless you're working on your fleet that you actively run in Ships Arena, the rest of it is kind of just like, oh, this might be nice to have.
Yeah.
Not like, I really need to upgrade all of the abilities on Kylo's command shuttle.
Right.
I mean, it's cool, but you don't really need it.
But I think either way, it's a good idea to just start saving those. Try not to spend it, because you can
always spend them later.
Exactly.
You can always spend them later, right?
Yeah, and you'll get those accumulated massive quantities of stuff that you may get, and now there may be a purpose for it, right?
What's interesting now is a bunch of people had, let's say, stopped buying the 4 credits gear at the top of the.
I still buy those as long as I remember to open it.
Right. No. But like, let's say I wasn't buying anything that I had more than 2,000 of, right?
Yeah, you could have missed out on all of this.
I was like, I've got more than 2,000 of that item. I'm probably not. There are a few items I have more than 10,000 of, and so some of these items I just didn't buy because I was like, I've got more than 10,000 of this blue salvage. Why would I buy it? Well, maybe we may want to start buying all of that stuff again. If you had maybe stopped at 3,000 or stopped at 5,000 or whatever number you gave yourself, where you were just like, oh, it's not worth it. Why am I buying this stuff? But maybe it's worth buying again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right.
You're not really going to hurt yourself. You probably have, if you're in the category where you're not buying stuff because you have 5,000 of something, you're probably sitting on 20, 30, 40, 60, 592. Looking at you create million credits sitting in your sitting on your game account, so you can by all means just buy all that gear. It doesn't really matter. Okay.
All right, let's hit the last paragraph and sentence.
Yep, the last paragraph here. Our goal is to not only make the game feel more truly connected to the Star Wars galaxy, but also to reward longtime players for their dedication over the years and make players feel like everything they've ever collected and amassed in the game matters. We are excited to talk about this new feature more in the upcoming weeks and months. See you on the holotables. And we have a mega thread.
Yeah, and the mega thread is just the same thing, but it's just in the general forum for people to reply. So,
Yeah.
anything you gleaned from the last one?
They're basically saying, they want to reward longtime players. That's all. That's cool. And make the gear that we've collected. I guess they're gonna find a way to make, to make whatever they're called, Mark IV Kerbantes, the ones that are Mark IV stun guns, the ones that we all have tons of. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we all have tons of. They're gonna try to make it feel like that stuff's mildly important. That's okay. That's an interesting idea, right? Make it feel like all that stuff is important. I don't want it to not feel important, but when was the last time we cared how many Mark V, NeuroSav electro binocular salvage you had?
Yeah.
I mean, everything can't be the same importance. So something's going to have to give somewhere.
And I'm going to, again, this is kind of a cautious thing, right? The sentence of also to reward longtime players for their dedication over the years, that's always nice, right? Newer players and mid-level players usually have things that they're working on, still things to aim for, end game players, and that even includes me, right? I don't necessarily have every character at gear 13 and 12, so a lot of my stuff is gear, but I'm doing the higher end content with my guild. So I would feel like I would be considered a longtime player even as free to play, but I think one of the biggest issues is making sure that you don't make the newer players feel isolated with what you introduce, right? It's kind of a fine line there with rewarding long-time players versus making the older, like the newer players feeling left out. So it is important to make sure that you don't go kind of too overboard with that. I think it is time that they do something for the long-time players, especially those that have been playing.
They said that twice in the last two paragraphs. Yeah. Long-time player.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like that you're bringing up a really great word of caution. It took 3 years or 2 years or a year or 14 months or however long to get this player to the point where they were considered in-game content, right?
Yeah.
Which means we can't, it's a balance. We can't negate or basically say, oh, well, you haven't been playing for 2.5 years. Guess what? Shove it where the sun don't shine. Thanks for playing. Come back and talk to us in 2 years. That's the new lifeblood that keeps the game going, is newer players. And someone who's played this game for 14 months could be considered a newish type player. We don't want to make that player feel like, they can never catch up. But at the same time, we also want to reward people who have been playing for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, there's a balance here. And we've said long-time player 2 or 3 times, but we haven't really defined what long-time player means. I think that we need to be incredibly careful that we're not saying, hey, thanks for playing for 3 years. Here's some new awesome stuff. And hey, if you're not, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Bimasu, I think what you are saying would be perfect.
Yes.
Bimasu put in chat, give longtime players stuff that won't affect gameplay, like skins. That is all, like, those vanity things are excellent a great way to get player buy-in into games.
Quests, right? A lot of longer term players have the ability to put pretty much any title they want on themselves in the game. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a vanity type item. I'm fine with I'm fine with those vanity type items. Spider legs on Maulskin, perfect. Rooster mentioned that, and I think that's would be a great skin. Slave Leia skin. Midriff
Midriff
Padme. Battle worn
Sorry,
gear,
you
right?
distracted me. Oh yeah, that's right.
Gear.
They wouldn't call it midriff Padme. They would call it battle worn gear.
Yeah,
Padme.
battle worn gear. That's it exactly. It's battle worn gear. Those are the type of items that we want to see people be able to have. And it's interesting that we might give someone a competitive advantage, but how does that competitive advantage interact with?
What if Padme's unique item is the midriff shirt? Oh my god. We could use our gear to give Padme a midriff.
So her unique item is
a rip shirt.
Is a negative item. What's your unique item? It's my belly button.
Oh my god.
I want that.
I want that. CG, make that. Do that. You have the skin. You have it in TB. Make that her unique item. Make that her unique item.
I don't know, man. How can you have a negative item? How do you upgrade that, right? How do you upgrade that? Put on.
It looks like an upgrade to me.
Put on 4,000 Mark 8 Neurosav binoculars, and
you can see through her shirt into her midriff.
It gets more
they become X-ray binoculars.
It's clear.
God, we have gone off the deep end now. Okay.
But the other thing too, how do you?
But I think that's exactly what we're talking about. There's things that you can make that'll be fun in the game that don't necessarily impact the gameplay. I think that is a good way to get players to kind of just have fun with the game and really. And I hate saying this right now because they just put out the Road Ahead post, but we had 3 players in 1 week. After months of not having any, leave our guild and the game. Just straight leave the game. No one just left the guild necessarily. They just they needed to pull back from the game.
A lot of people just say, hey, a lot of players that we've played with for a long time, right? 2 or 3 or 4 years, basically said, man, I don't think this is my cup of tea anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, we might be able to bring them back. We might not. Who knows?
We need something to engage them more. I don't want to
discourage, but I also don't want to discourage a player. Let's say there's a player that's been playing for 14 months and has effectively, invested a lot in the game, whether that's time or cash or whatever. We also don't want to discourage that player at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it, right? You see the guy who maybe doesn't quite have the mod depth, maybe doesn't have the Zeta depth, but has a 5.2 million roster. And that player is not a quote unquote long-term player, but I think that they deserve to be able to compete and feel like they are successful.
Yeah, I agree. So
cautiously optimistic is where I would put it at the moment.
I would say there's a lot of potential with this Road Ahead. There are a lot of new concepts that they're trying to introduce. Obviously, execution is really important for especially some of these.
The details are important. For sure, the details are important. Yes.
So, So, and we're reading your comments and everything, so I'll start going through that. But in the meantime, as I'm reading through the chat, and I'll point out some comments and stuff here, make sure that you do subscribe and hit the little bell so you can get notifications of whenever we go live. If you guys saw it at the beginning, I accidentally removed one of the streams that's coming up. But we're going to be doing, Ranger's going to be doing his mini roster reviews in a little bit. So if you guys want to go there, make sure that you do check that out. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell. Also, make sure that you check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/realityskewedgamers. We're going to start doing more and more, different stuff, not necessarily Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, but just some random fun stuff for you guys. You guys can hang out there. We did Jedi Consular Finn, which if you guys haven't seen, I am going to upload it to YouTube here in a little bit. It's kind of a long file, so that will be uploaded here so you guys can get a preview of what you're missing on Twitch. I'm also going to be putting together Lego Porg later today. We finished bag 1 of 6. Today is going to be bag 2 of 6, and I'm going to be joined by my co-pilot, Mr. Porg McFadden. So if you haven't seen him, you'll be able to see him. There's a bunch of other stuff: Surgeon Simulator, PC Gaming Night. We're going to be doing more and more on Twitch. That's going to be different content from what we have on YouTube. So make sure that you do check us out there and follow us there. Any support that you guys want to give us, whether it's through becoming a member on YouTube, subscribing to us on Twitch, or just right now, take a second, give us a thumbs up. That helps us as well with everything that we're doing. It lets us know that you guys like the content, and we'll try to bring you guys more stuff. And especially with things like this, when things are dropping, we're going to try and get a live stream going as quickly as possible, more often than not here. So please give us a thumbs up, support us with that. And let me now go through some of the comments and questions that we see here. This is not kind of like an informal stream, so we kind of did this kind of a little bit differently. So let me bring up my good old trusty Nightbot. I have the first question though. Revenator asked, how many cryotechs will be needed for each iconic power? He's going straight to the cryotechs.
It could be painful.
It very well could be. Ouchie's also very upset at the mention of midriff. She's about to put me into a corner. Ouchie. Quick question. What are we going to do in the corner? Just saying, Ouchie. You're putting me in the corner. Yeah, I have to be occupied. Either crayons, or if you're in the corner with me, that's a whole different thing. All right. Then let's see. What other questions do we have? Nightbot is not working right now, so I'm going to just kind of scroll through the chat here, because I think I lost some of it. But, Rooster, will the Mace Challenge gear be useful? I hope so. And yeah, Ryan Powell says, as a newer player who has spent money, this paragraph scares the hell out of me. Yet another barrier in the way of new players and spenders. Yeah,
agreed. Right. I mean, barrier to entry is kind of a big deal. I mean, we don't want to make it to where we can't gain people. We don't need consolidation. We need it to where a lot of people can be successful in different ways they want to play the game.
Mm-hmm. KT asks, Knights Templar. Hey, Knights Templar. Do you think that gear exchange might be an attempt to drain people's credits? Then the few months later, they will drop the level cap increase.
Interesting concept.
We've seen them do this before, right? They know kind of when the average amount of people's currencies are going up. Like, that's all stuff that they're tracking. And you've seen them introduce things in order to drain you of those things before they introduce something new. We saw that with like fleet credits, right? We saw that people were amassing a lot of fleet credits. Then they introduced fleet credits to be able to buy mods. We had Mike Hunt, who's usually on the lunch streams with us, right? Mm-hmm. He basically said he spent like $1 million or so, or not $1 million, like $100 million worth of fleet credits to get mods, and then they started introducing new ships. Well, now you have to wait in order to get those ships up again. So they have been known to do this before. And so, that is quite possibly something that they would do. Yeah, I would not put it past them. That would be within not only what they would do, but what any company does, right? If they know that something is coming down the line, they'll try and drain you of it, and then you have to buy some more of it. So, and yeah, Swamp Donkey, I'm free to play now. I mentioned this before. In the first 6 months of the game, I think my account spent about $150 to $200, of which about $150 were in gift cards that were given to me. And of my money, I spent somewhere around, I think, $50, and I think $30 went to a charity thing that they did with Ewoks. I can't remember what it's called, like Ewoks for Apples or Apple Day or something like that. It was like an Earth Day, Apple related, literally the word apple in there somewhere, some kind of Ewok wildlife charity thing. And when you bought stuff, money went donated to the charity. So that was when I bought. But since then, I want to say about six to 8 months in the game, I have not bought anything in game. So yeah, so effectively free to play, but a little bit of spending at the beginning. Let me see, is there anything else? I think that's everything. So I think we can go ahead and start wrapping up here. Grande, any last thoughts on this post overall? How do you grade Top Hat's first road ahead in a while? I think he did some before, but I think this is the first one.
Top Hat, Top Hat's been with this game for a while. Mm-hmm. I think he was part of the EA Play when they introduced with Cozy Spoon, and with EA Jesse when they introduced Thrawn. So we definitely know that the person who's doing the road ahead has some time investment in the company and in the game. Um, so I'm totally happy with that and fine with that completely. Um, Good guy. Talked with him a couple of times. Definitely, wants the game to be successful. So I think that's fine. I like how he worded it and gave us some little hints and stuff. I feel like on the overall, I'd probably give him a solid. I'll give him a solid B plus, A minus on this road ahead. Wish we had a couple more graphics.
Yeah, I think
it.
yeah, I think more graphics would have helped. I don't know if it's hard to say whether it's good or bad that he left it with so many questions.
I need to dye my mustache gray and put on a cone head for Halloween so I can be the perfect Kai Alud Mundi. Yeah. Excellent.
If he comes into the game, he has to come into the game first.
That's right.
So yeah, I think I'm with you. B plus, A minus type thing. I think he left us with a lot of questions, which I think typically happens with the road ahead, right? Because they can't give us a lot of details. And I'm not necessarily as concerned about the images. I think more images would definitely help. But there's only I guess I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. We've said that the content inflow is always something that's a little bit slow in this game, right? It's taken us a long time to get the new GOTB, and I mean for a long time we had nothing. Stale content is the biggest problem with this game, I think, is that the content just doesn't come fast enough. And a road ahead that really only has kind of two things. One is the new light side TB, and then the other thing, which we don't know exactly how it's going to work, but if the unique item ends up being anything RNG related like mods is, you're going to get a lot more frustration. So I think I'm a little bit cautious about only two things being on the road ahead right now. I would hope that there's more things that they're just not listing here. So that's a little bit why I'm on the lower side. But otherwise, I think it's written well. It's written well. I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of content included in here besides the two things that they mentioned. So.
Right. Yes.
But okay. So with that, I am Finity. That is Grande Patron. Actually, am I pointing on the right side? I don't think I'm pointing to the right side. There. That's Grande. That's Grande. You know what? I'm gonna switch to the bigger camera. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. I'm gonna make it bigger. Here. Hold on. I'm gonna make you much bigger. Let me do this. Haha! Now we're bigger. So, that is Grande. I am Finn. Thank you guys for watching. Again, this is the road ahead. It was just posted. Hope you guys gleaned something from that. You guys got our opinions, and we read some of your guys' on the chat. Thank you for joining. Again, if you guys would like to support us, lots of links in the description. But at the minimum, please give us a thumbs up. That helps us with our videos and all of that. And do make sure that you guys stay tuned, as Ranger will be going live soon with his roster reviews. And I will try not to destroy that stream as well. So, with that, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have a great day.